27 million Americans aged 50 and older have hearing loss, but did you know that only 1 in 7 uses a hearing aid? We have a few surprising signs that you or a loved one may be experiencing hearing loss, and more importantly, what you should do about it. Surprising sign number 1, Dr.
Well,
Orton.
and it really isn't surprising to me because I am an ear, nose, and throat specialist. The nerve that is involved with our sensation, our sense of hearing, also was involved with balance and equilibrium. So a surprising sign is that you may be stumbling more, you may be, less stable on your feet at times, and that's all related to changes going on in your inner ear, can affect balance as well as hearing.
So what can they do when you start noticing a loved one doing that? Sometimes they're not even aware, right? So
well, I think it's so important that part of aging process, you know that your ears, your hearing is going to change to a certain degree as we get old, so-called presbycusis. You need to check your hearing for all the elderly, and they may not want to admit that they don't hear as well, and they may be checking out and withdrawing and are less interactive, and all those things, those changes are not healthy. As you know, you deal with geriatric population.
So almost hiding.
And also the fact that mild hearing loss can triple your risk of falling. And the fact that falling is often that first step in an elderly individual losing their independence, potentially going down a downward spiral. So it's really important. Now, Drew, I want to talk about, in that case, you're talking about stumbling more often, but what about this concept of ringing as a surprising sign?
Well, tinnitus, ringing in the ears, is just a sign or a symptom of something going on in your inner ear. It can be associated with that natural progression of losing your hearing as you age. Certain medications can cause it. So the ringing in the ears is just another sign or symptom that there's changes going on, along with that, the balance issues falling inside the inner ear.
I know that one of the logistical issues has been that it just costs a lot to get a hearing aid, right? So what can people do about that?
Well, that's right. And if you, in fact, have that type of hearing loss, sensorineural hearing loss related to aging, you especially lose your high frequency tones, the ability. That's why it can be more difficult to hear and understand women and kids, because they speak in a higher frequency.
And that's an important point, and our third surprising sign, because
you say couldn't hear women.
Well, no, but it's the higher pitched frequencies. No, but my dad, I've seen. This is something my dad struggles with, and my dad will use hearing aids now because, again, those higher pitched frequencies may be the first to go. And one of the cool things about a hearing aid device is that you can turn up certain frequencies, and it can help people, because it is embarrassing. And I mean this. Take a married couple who's been together for forever, and the husband starts saying, "Honey, I know I can't hear you. I did not," and there's a fight taking place because you never listen to me. Well, it could be the fact that there's some hearing loss going on. We're not always
really want to turn off a little bit now.
Honey, I don't have my hearing aid. Sorry.
So sometimes it's a real excuse. Sometimes it's just.
But it's something to take note of.
Well, and that's a big deal. I think that's the single biggest takeaway here with what we're talking about is hearing loss associated with aging. That if you have that type of hearing loss, look into the possibilities of a hearing aid, because the hearing aids are so many different types of hearing aids now. The technology has improved significantly.
They don't all have to be as costly anymore.
Well, that's a big issue, in different styles. Some are in the ear, some are outside of the ear, some are a combination of both. And there's one option, Ovation Hearing has come out. They offer all these different types of hearing aids, but one in particular that they're advocating, the XL Ovation Hearing Aid, combines all the best abilities, like you said, that you can dial in certain frequencies where you're having the biggest problem. They can fit it to your specific needs. So, and as you said, for a lot of people, it's the price that scares them away. The Ovation Hearing Aid is a great option. There's no middlemen, so that means direct consumer approach to sales. Guess what? That makes it much more affordable.